Hi, this is a quick response to a video by Dorian Stretton. Hi there, Dorian. Your video about being a magician and how the act of being a magician, or the being of a magician with the camera in your case, in the sense that, you know, knowing how to do this stuff, can change the experience to the extent possibly even of unweaving the rainbow and destroying the magic. You know, this is where the magic happens. It's that. I guess we're relating to photography here, so because I made that comment about, you know, all of us, not all of us, but a lot of us, a little bit superstitious about photography, not wanting to deface a picture of a loved one. It feels a bit weird, and you're basically saying you don't have that, at least nothing like the same extent, because of your experience with photography. You know how the photographs are made in a way that, you know, those of us who just kind of consume them don't, and that insider's view strips them of their magic. It doesn't necessarily strip them of the experience, of the pleasure you get from it. You didn't actually say that word, but I got the sense that you still get a lot of pleasure from them. You mentioned the kind of satisfactions of recognising technical finish, those kind of things. But I think it's probably fair to say that I think you recognise a good picture when you see one and get genuine pleasure from it. And that isn't lost just because you know of the means of its production. I mean, I have a similar thing. I don't know anything about photography really. My area of expertise is performance. I work in a performance department, a theatre department, so I know quite a lot about theatre. I know a bit about visual art, but I know about theatre and I know about performance art and those kind of things. And I have a similar kind of experience, I guess. You know, I've seen a lot of it, I guess, and I've made a lot of it, and I've been involved in working with students making it. So I know how to produce effects, or you know, I know how to, you know, all those tricks that you know about in terms of photography. Not trick. That's yeah. I'll stick to the word tricks because it sounds magical. But all those techniques of how to, you know, produce an emotional effect in a viewer or an audience, or to make an audience or a viewer think that you're doing one thing when you're actually doing another, or, you know, to shape an experience so that, you know, it comes out a certain way. All that kind of stuff is what you learn, and then when you see it being played back to you, when you look at for myself, when I look at a piece of performance and I see those techniques being manipulated, I kind of know that, and I mean, to be honest, I'm a little bit more cynical about that than perhaps you are. I get quite, I feel a little bit jaundiced by that sometimes. Because, you know, performance is such a manipulative media in a way that perhaps photography isn't to the same extent. That when I see an audience being kind of sucked in, and that whole kind of aspect of performance, which is about, you know, holding them in the palm of your hand and you get them right where you want them. You know, that whole end of it, I have a real problem with that. I don't like all that really. That whole entertainment, I guess, you know, entertainment. I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? Because I'm in this business, I have a problem with entertainment. That's all right, because it has that manipulation quality. And of course, there's a history in theatre of people who got resistance to that. It's not just me. But specifically in what we're talking about, it stops once you know how that particular magic is produced. Once you know that a performer is trying to win you over in a certain way and produce a certain kind of emotional effect in you and get you to like them and doing all those kind of things, then speaking purely personal, there's a tendency to get kind of resentful about that and think, well, I'm not going to do it. But it relates to something else, kind of, because what you are talking about, and which I share this sense, is that once you know those things, you kind of know how they're done. And what I get when I'm looking at a piece of work, and I'm guessing you have the same when you look at a photograph, it's not just the image that you see after a while. You kind of see the production method, you know what I mean? You kind of see how that's been worked, so that that means of production becomes part of your experience. It's not like you can just ignore that. It's part of the content. It's almost part of the aesthetic. And sometimes seeing how a piece has been put together is, you know, a positive part of that. You know, seeing how the process has worked is it's kind of fundamental. I guess I'm thinking back to a piece by a British artist called Bobby Baker. I don't know if you know her. She was a visual artist and then she moved into performance work. And she's great, Bobby. She's a really nice person. And she's a middle-aged woman, about my age. And she's quite mumsy, you know. She looks a bit like a dinner lady. Hope she hasn't watched it. Sorry, Bobby, if you ever watch this video. But you do, you know. And she kind of plays off that. A kind of slightly sexy dinner lady. That's the kind of thing she plays off. She's really good at it. But one of her early pieces of live work was a piece called, what was it called? Drawing on a Mother's Experience. And the heart of it was a series of stories. She told a series of stories about having children, what it was like to have children. But all the time she was talking about these stories, she's doing a painting, but she's not doing a painting with paint, she's doing it with food. So she starts out by laying out this cloth on the ground, like a tablecloth. And she talks about where she got the cloth from and the importance of being really precise and tidy in your work. And then she unpacks all these Tesco carrier bags. It's full of food, there's fish pies in there and there's bottles of beer and all the things that kind of have a symbolic relationship to the story she's telling. And she kind of spreads these out on the cloth a little bit like a Jackson Pollock action painting. You know, she's throwing these things around. And so by the end of it, you know, it's about 45 minutes show. By the end of it, she's made this, you know, it's a kind of visual artwork. But of course, that's not the point. The point is that you see it being made. In fact, as an artwork itself, this object that she's created isn't really that important. I mean, she kind of dresses herself up in it, in the end, kind of wraps herself up in it, and does this little dance to a Nina Simone song, which is really great. But the point is, you see it being made, and it's the means of its production, which is part of the aesthetic of it, you know. Just like the making of a child is you know, that's the analogy she draws throughout. That the making of this artwork is a bit like the making of a child, and it doesn't just arrive fully formed. Or the making of a human being. It's the process that takes you to the end point is an important thing, not the end point. No one's going anywhere, it's about that process. Anyway, yeah, just that really. So that's all. Thank you for that, Dorian. Sorry to have rambled on a bit. Yeah, magic. A different kind of magic. It's a different kind of magic, isn't it, really? There's one last tiny anecdote at the end. One of my favourite theatre makers is an American guy called Richard Foreman. He's been going for years and years, New York based. Experimental theatre, very out there stuff. The ontological, hysterical theatre he's got. Brilliant texts which he writes when he's in a kind of somnambulistic, half asleep. He writes these texts half asleep and then puts them on. Very wild pieces of work, they're brilliant. Strange pieces of poetic writing. But in a piece I saw him do a couple of years ago, it was over in London, and this line keeps coming up in it, and the line is, "This is the magic, no magic." Several of the characters, there's not really characters, but several of the performers say this at various points, and they're all doing they're all performing this weird kind of paranoid style. This is the magic, no magic. Fucking brilliant. That's the magic, isn't it? The magic is that there isn't any fucking magic. I like that sentiment. Anyway, that's enough of that. Thank you very much for your patience. Goodbye.